Hello, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about knowledge learning and does it matter discerning our knowledge for ourselves or something like that in the title. This video is linked with a previous video that I have already uploaded. So if this kind of resonates a little bit and you're interested in what I talked about before, which is the awakening process and a phase that we often go through where we're researching, when we're looking for answers and opening our mind to new perspectives or trying to gain more knowledge and things. And it's also going to be linked to another video I'm going to be posting in the future. So make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll put up the notifications ready for when that one comes out. You'll recognize because I'll be dressed like this. Anyway, this video, I'm specifically going to talk about well-being. That's kind of the perspective I'm coming from, but I guess it could be adapted into all sorts of other ways. There's just been like a theme of something that I've experimented with for years and gone back and forth and back and forth. I am a bit of an inquisitive person. I get really curious. I like to learn. And I'm the sort of person that learns from experience. So although can read, I do research, I tend to do it quite sparingly, and I very rarely follow recommendations unless it resonates, unless it kind of feels like it's relevant, mainly because I have come to understand in my own system, my own mind body system, too much knowledge for me is not always helpful. I process knowledge and I like to understand how that fits with my perspective, my reality, and just what I've discovered over the years, especially as I've been paying more attention to myself, becoming more conscious of how what I consume affects me. If I take on too much all at once, specifically, or something is kind of radically out of alignment of the trail of thought I'm in, sometimes that's helpful, but most of the time it's actually not. It's too much for me, and I can actually just kind of shut off a little bit, or it becomes too much for me to process all at once, and I need quite a bit of time to let that kind of sink in. But I do tend to take in information, and it does take me a while to process things because I do like to kind of fit it in and see how it works with my reality, which is kind of what this video is about. Now, it could just be this is my specific energy type, how I learn, how I experience life. I don't know. Maybe you're one of these people who just finds the benefit in learning loads of stuff. But something has really been solidified in me once again, right? In my experience, that actually sometimes it doesn't matter, right? And I'm going to put this into a little bit of perspective. Sometimes sticking a label on something and giving it a name doesn't help. Sometimes it does, right? Sometimes not knowing what something is, not understanding something can be very confusing. It can lead us to not really know what direction to take. We can feel a bit lost. So naming something, and I suppose when I'm referencing here to do with like well-being, like labeling something, diagnosing something, might be helpful because it gives us a starting point, right? It gives us a little bit of clarity and go, oh, so rather than being like, oh, I don't know what this is, I don't know what's going on, it's like, it's this. And it gives us a starting point, right? So sometimes that's really helpful. But also what I found is when one attaches to that label, I am now this thing, that's not always helpful. Because we've come identified something which is a problem, right? If you've been diagnosed with something, the diagnostic process is a problem. It's a problem you're facing. And ultimately, I assume we want a solution. We want to feel better. So the diagnosis, if you like, the understanding, the naming of something, the labeling of something is a starting point for us to understand it better. And then ultimately, if it's causing an issue in our life or it's causing us some sort of distress, to move past that and into a solution of finding peace, harmony, alignment, wellness again. We live in an age now where there's knowledge everywhere, right? often also very contradictory knowledge. So even sometimes when we get this starting point of understanding, we start to research, right? We start to look into all this stuff and we gain a lot of knowledge. We can, and especially if we've identified with I am this or this is me, we can then start taking on this knowledge as if it is us. So we might see things like in our research that we're reading or whatever and be like, oh yeah, that resonates, or that feels right, that's what I've experienced. And we start to kind of build a relationship with this knowledge, right? Because we're feeling stuff, it's like validating us, right? And the problem is with that, like I say, if we're looking, it's quite a temporary state, is that validation, is what I'm trying to say. Because if we're looking for the overall well-being, as long as that's helpful, it's fine. Okay. I'm not judging anyone or anything. But what I'm trying to say is when we can learn to discern and pay attention to what is helpful and what's not, what works with us and what actually causes us a bit of resistance or rejection. And sometimes we do need to look at that resistance or that rejection, because it could be that that's something deeper we need to work on. But the thing actually is true, and the resistance is coming up because we've got a subconscious block or a trauma wound or something that we've associated with it. But actually, sometimes knowing something also fixes it. So it kills it in a way, objectifies it. So it takes something that might be like a flowing process and a live thing. And when we say it is that, it kind of fixes it as an image. For example, I'll try to really quick. Imagine an elephant, right? You can only imagine an elephant because it's been given the name elephant and you've made all these associations with it. Now, the type of elephant that you imagine is going to be based on all these associations. So if you like elephants, you probably imagined like a pleasant looking elephant. If you're terrified of elephants, you probably imagined like a big scary elephant with massive tusks. Maybe it's that. Imagine a tiger. If you like tigers, you might have imagined like a big fluffy big cat. If you're really frightened of tigers, you might have imagined this really scary thing about to attack you. And we're only imagining our construct of what the thing is, okay? Based on our interpretations, based on what we do or don't know about it, our knowledge, okay? So we might learn, we might like something and learn a lot about it, and it'll give us like a broader range of what we can imagine based on that thing. But that doesn't mean that we can comprehend every individual elephant or every individual tiger. Not sure this metaphor is getting there. I'll trust the process, because each one is going to be different. There's different species. They live in different environments. They have different circumstances within those environments. They have different behaviors, responses. Do you know what I mean? So we might know a lot about elephants or tigers, but we still don't really know the one that's presenting to us. Okay. And we can learn a lot about that. We might read a lot of books, blah, 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 blah. But we don't know elephants until we know the elephant in front of us. That's what I'm trying to say. So you might learn a lot about elephants and decide that you're going to, oh God, this metaphor, go and care for elephants. You've only got a working knowledge of it. And it's not until you actually start working with the elephants that you're going to get to know how the elephant smells, how, all the different subtleties in the body language, how to recognize one different elephant from the other. So it's only through living with the elephant and with several elephants that you're going to actually get to know the reality of an elephant. And even then, you're only getting to know those particular elephants in those particular circumstances. And if you met another elephant from a completely different place, different species, in different environment, it might be totally different. This is what this video is a bit about. It's about this duality of we can know a lot about something or think we know a lot about something, but does it matter? Is any of it relevant? Because it could be the case you know nothing about elephants, right? You could have somebody here who knows everything about elephants. They have worked with elephants for 20 years, right? They studied elephants, they've worked in elephant rescues, they've studied elephants in the wild. They know a lot about elephants, right? They've got a lot of information, a lot of narrative built up about elephants, right? And then there could be me, who doesn't know very much about elephants. So I don't know why I chose that. Or even somebody else who never even heard of an elephant. Meet this creature in the wild. It could be because of those responses, we respond entirely different, right, to this thing that is we're being presented with in the moment, in the present, and respond differently. And there's still no way of knowing what the correct response would be. Somebody who knows everything about elephants might respond a certain way, and that particular elephant still don't like that response, and it could cause an attack. We could go back to the tigers. Elephants attack. I know a little bit about that. They do. And it could be that the person who has never met elephants sees the elephant, is terrified, runs away, and they don't get attacked. We can know a lot about a lot, or a lot about something specific, and still it might not matter in the moment, is what I'm trying to say. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with several times, again and again and again. I am not necessarily a natural thinker. My anxiety in the past has taught me to overthink, and my natural curiosity to explore life has taught me to research. And sometimes I get to a point where I end up taking in so much information, it becomes too overwhelming and it's not helpful anymore. Same as sometimes not enough information can be a little bit like, oh, I don't know enough, but anxious, not helpful. So for me, gathering information has kind of become a bit like an ebb and flow. If I'm guided to something, I might want to learn more about it. I might be really interested in it, taking a lot of knowledge about it, and then realize that that's enough and I can just let it go, because actually, I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not until life shows me. And even with all the knowledge and work in the world, what life might actually show me, which it has several times, is that it doesn't matter. Some things you can't prepare for mentally, some things you can't prepare for in the mind. You can read all the books, for example, you want about bereavement or grief, and be absolutely unprepared when something you love dies. You might have had several bereavements in your life and gone through lots of different types of grief, and still losing that one specific thing gives you a whole new experience you weren't prepared for. Just like you might never have experienced grief or bereavement, and you lose something and feel prepared for it. You can accept it. You're finding the process quite natural to go through. Again, my point is, we can't always know. And I think in the age of enlightenment and information, with a lot of influence from a lot of different perspectives at our fingertips. I mean, even here on YouTube, right? The information you get on YouTube is like infinite and contradictory. So you can find information that says, one thing is good for you, be vegan. It's really good for your health. And I guarantee you, search right now, right? There's all this scientific data that says being vegan is excellent for your health. And then all this scientific data that says only eating meat is best for your health, right? The only way you're going to know if being vegan or only eating meat is better than one or the other is to try both of them. And you might find that neither is for you, and you need to be omnivorous. You might even find at one point in your life, veganism is really helpful. Another point in your life, just eating meat is really helpful. Another point in your life, being omnivorous, then being pescatarian, then being vegetarian. Might ebb, flow, and change, all depending on us, our circumstances, our environment. So no matter how much knowledge we acquire, it's very often only temporary, only relevant for a time. It might serve us for a lifetime. I'm very much a person for like skill building and certain skills that we build in our life that, you know, we can grow and makes us stronger in one way or another, or more able to discern, or give us maybe a little bit more tools in our belt, fuel in our belly to be able to cope with life better. You know, that's what Love School is about. That I do think kind of maybe prepares us a bit more. It kind of maybe gives us a little bit more confidence, at least, to think we could be prepared because we've got tools and skills and we know how to like respond and adapt. But just knowing isn't the same as being able to use it. Reading a carpentry book is not the same as being a carpenter. Being a carpenter is not the same as being a carpenter with a workshop. See what I mean? There's like knowing something, learning about something, studying something, to understanding it, to being able to embody it, to do that practically, to being able to respond and do that thing as and when it's needed or not as required. One thing I've learned specifically when it comes to like knowledge that on my research journey, sometimes I pick things up and it's very empowering at the time. And then sometimes it can become very disempowering. And actually, I just choose to change the focus, the weight, the attention, the relevance that I give to that piece of knowledge. Because as a person, have grown, my perspective's changed, my awareness has changed. Something that piece of knowledge or a skill, an idea that was really relevant at one point might not be at another point. And I've kind of been going through a process lately of really letting go of a lot of relevance of a lot of knowledge that I have gained over the years, because I've decided if it doesn't empower my life, if it doesn't make my experience better, I don't want to know it. I don't need to linger on it. I don't want to put my attention on it. I don't want to, you know, this is why there's so many contradictory sciences and datas and all that, because we can actually choose our reality. And a lot of our reality is reinforced through our mind, through our beliefs, our mindset, and what we know. And I might know this has some truth to it. There's some helpful knowledge information there. And I might know this is some helpful knowledge and information there, right? It's up to me where I choose to look. It's up to me to decide which is more important to me, to my values, to my experience. So this might be true, right? This might be true. All this knowledge, all this data, whatever this is, might be true. But actually, when I look at this, my life's better. My life feels better. I enjoy it more and I want to live it more. So you know what I'm going to look at? This. And I'm not going to look at that. And I'm not quite sure how to articulate this perspective, but people are very defensive now that you must accept certain realities, right? That you must look at this. It's been proven. You must look at this. No, just turn my head and I'll look at that. Also, this idea that if you don't look at it, you're ignorant. Now, I'm not ignoring it. I'm not ignorant to it. I know it's there. I'm just choosing not to look at it. I've just made the choice for myself that looking at that is not helpful and looking at this is helpful. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look there. And yes, I am choosing to potentially ignore it for a while, not pay attention to it, because you know why? I don't need to. It doesn't help me. It's not benefiting me. I don't want it in my life. I'm choosing where I focus my attention, where I look. And there's this idea that that is completely unacceptable, that we must look at everything and we must look at the things most people have agreed that we must look at, which is also not true. If everyone's looking at everything and is really stressed out, anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, overworked, burnt out, right? And I'm just looking at this and I'm not, who's making the more intelligent choice? I mean, answer for yourself. But I'm just saying, like, I just realized so much how much control I do have over my reality. Like I said, there's ebb and flow. Sometimes I might need to broaden my perspective. Sometimes I might need to look in lots of different directions and do lots of different explorations. But once I've chosen, once I've looked wide and I've looked at all these different things, go, you know where it's good to look? Here. And I'll look here. Might change my mind after a while. I might be like, I want to look elsewhere and look here for a bit. And I'm like, no, I don't like that. I'll look back here. Well, then I might be like, you know what? This is all getting a bit restrictive. I'll look at the big picture again. The point is, we can choose where we look, and it doesn't matter, or does it? I mean, it's up to you if you decide. I decided it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Anyone else has decided you should be looking there, or you shouldn't be looking there, or you should look at all this, and you shouldn't just look at this small detail. Like, I really don't care what you think about me looking where I'm looking. I care about what feels good for me, what enhances my life experience, what improves my health and well-being, what makes my life feel worth living, and I'll do me, thank you. And you can look wherever you want, at whatever you want, and judge me all you want, but it's not going to change my mind. I'll change my mind if and when I'm good and ready. And that's kind of like just like the mindset that I have come to at the moment, where I am at the minute, after I've processed a lot of this stuff. That is our right, that's our freedom, that is how we create the reality that we want. That's how we embody, embrace our perspective, our journey, our path. I've noticed that generally which I've kind of mentioned earlier in the video, we tend to validate us. We want to validate ourselves, right? And I've just become, with this idea of discerning, especially knowledge and things, very aware of what I'm validating. Are we validating the current circumstances that I'm in that might be causing distress, stress, ill health, whatever it is? Am I validating that reality by what I'm currently looking at and refusing to look at more? Because it feels more comfortable, because it makes me give that temporary buzz of like, yes, I'm right. Yes, I'm right. Yes, I'm right. Because this idea of being right and wrong is only conditioned from our schooling very often. We don't have to be right all the time. Being wrong can teach us a lot. Being afraid of being wrong can really restrict our experience into this ebb and flow of if we're only validating the problem, we're only validating our current circumstances, we're avoiding then all of this other stuff that could lead us to a solution. So this is when, like I say, sometimes we choose where we're looking. And if we're looking at the problem, if we're looking at the current scenario, if we're looking at our pain, our struggle, our suffering, and validating that constantly, we're missing out on so much. So broaden out the horizons, look around, look at different options, experiment which option works, and then focus on the solutions. Don't focus on the problem and validate the problem. Experiment with possible solutions and validate which is the best possible solution for you, and then look at the solution. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just suggesting and saying this is what I have found the most helpful way of exploring, growing, putting my knowledge into practice. And I've done that through my life design processes that I've done over several years with different tools that I've developed, which if you're interested in, you can have a look at Love School. So there's an introduction to a life design course. I've also kind of put a bundle together, which is recovery by design. So if specifically you're looking for like how to use life design for a recovery journey, a natural recovery journey that could be from trauma, abuse, neglect, addiction, ill health, chronic health conditions, anything where you want to neurodivergent unmasking, anything where you want to do recover yourself, recover your health in a natural, holistic way. I've put a bundle together so it's got the life design tools in there. It's got some information that I've kind of gathered over the years from my own recovery journey. So that's not to say that that might be specific to you, but you'll use the life design tools to create your own journey, to find your own process of discernment and knowledge and where to look and all that. And there's a few different courses in there that's really helpful if you're interested in that. Something else that might interest you, I have a free PDF which kind of explains the process called I Think, I Feel, I Observe. And when we're learning, when we're looking at something, if we haven't mastered yet the craft of separating our thoughts, our feelings, and our observations, this might be helpful if you're starting to now consider, oh, maybe I need to think about this. And you might want to go through a process of just practicing how to separate your thoughts from your feelings, what's emerging to actual, like the response you're getting in your reality. And it's just a really, really simple, basic exercise that we can apply to lots of different circumstances. But in relation to this video, it could be that you're like, well, I have this knowledge about whatever it might be, elephants. How do I feel? How does this knowledge about elephants make me feel? And what reflection is that actually having in my circumstances? So I have lots of knowledge about elephants. I feel really good about it. And I'm really confident going out in the world with all this elephant knowledge. Keep it. I'm learning too much about elephants. I have all these obsessive thoughts about elephants. It's actually making me feel really anxious and overwhelmed. And that's making me really standoffish, afraid, and scared in the world. Maybe stop thinking about elephants. That's kind of how that like I said, it's a really simple PDF. I will link all this below. I'll also put the other videos that are going to be in this little, there's like three videos that I'm going to make. The previous one, I'll kind of put a card or a link, and we'll link it at the end of the video so you can watch it. Like, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get the notification if it comes up. And please leave any comments if any of this doesn't make any sense, if you want to give any feedback, whatever you want. I love to connect with you. It's important to me to know that this is helpful for you. So feel free to comment and get in touch. You can also email me at mail@loveschool.uk. And there's loads of free supportive content over at Love School, with blog, we've got a podcast, and obviously all the videos here on YouTube. So thank you so much for being here. Hope this video is helpful. See you on the next one.